Hello, J3 listeners. The other J is on vacation, so I'm tasked with holding down the fort for this episode, which should turn out to be an interesting one. Right now, we have the privilege to interview not one, but two college students in New York area about their experiences at the Brooklyn Museum, Brooklyn Art Exhibit. We have Eric and Richard here. Welcome, guys.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, guys. So I understand that both of you guys are college students in New York. Do you guys regularly go to museums, or did you go to museums before COVID-19?
Yeah, so originally I wasn't that big of a fan of museums. I only recently got into it in college actually as a assignment for one of my classes. It was a Roman Civ class, had to go to the Met and observe ancient Roman artifacts and write down observations on them. So that kind of got me into it. After that, I kind of started going to actual exhibits pertaining to art, other modern art, Museum of Modern Art, streetwear designs, other stuff like that. And we went to the KAWS exhibit, the KAWS What Party exhibit recently, as you know. And that was pretty interesting to see. Contemporary art is pretty interesting overall. I like to look into it more because I've just been into it a lot. I know Eric is a big fan of modern art as well, because I guess we wear it a lot. Our high schools kind of immersed us in this pop culture where we had to kind of wear all this clothing, all this new modern stuff, Supreme, Bape, all these brands that are kind of, I guess, based heavily around pop culture. And I guess it kind of pushed us to go to this exhibit.
So how does design tie into this museum? Was a design exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum?
Not exactly. So the exhibit was from an artist called KAWS. He's very famous now, I guess, especially in streetwear. And he does a lot of collaborations with different companies, and he produces a lot of clothing with his designs on them.
I understand you went together, but what about you, Eric? Did you regularly go to museums prior to this trip to the Brooklyn Museum?
Not really. I'm not gonna lie. Not that they don't intrigue me. I guess they do. I just, I never really was that into it.
So, Richard talked you into it?
No, so what happened was I'm a huge fan of KAWS. I've been buying his clothing for years, and recently I saw that he had a collaboration with the Brooklyn Museum, and they were selling shirts with his designs on them. So that was my main motive for going, honestly, just for buying the shirts and wearing them.
You actually wanted to wear his design, not just look at his design. I see.
Yeah, seeing his stuff is great too, but I really wanted just to buy the stuff for my personal collection, because I really love the artist, and what better way to appreciate the art than wear it?
Right. I feel like a kind of a large part of, I guess, appreciating the art is, I guess, wearing it, supporting the artist, buying the merchandise. And that brings it back to going to a nonprofit museum and paying to go into this exhibit where KAWS shows off his work. And it's just a bunch of sculptures. It's a bunch of pop culture references. And he kind of puts his own twist on all that stuff, makes it kind of, I guess, it's kind of different. It's very different from what you would expect from modern art. Usually you would expect, I don't know, a square on a blank canvas. Here we get, I guess, the Simpsons. He could draw X's on their eyes, and I guess that could be a interesting poster. He drew X on SpongeBob. He just takes all these random characters and just kind of configures them in his own way to appeal to a certain demographic, I guess the streetwear population, the people who are heavily immersed in all this, designer clothing, all this new fabs, all these new fabs and everything.
So KAWS, he is, in addition to being a designer, he's also an artist. He draws.
Primarily, he's an artist. However, he is somewhat a designer, and he does a lot of collaborations with a lot of different companies and produces clothing with them. But primarily, he does art.
I'm just curious: is this art that he makes? Is it expensive? How expensive is it? Do you know?
Yeah, so it's really expensive. For the most part, he does statues and sculptures, and they come in all types of sizes and shapes, and some of them go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them start at a couple hundred or $1,000, but they're not cheap.
There was this one piece I actually saw in the exhibit. It was roughly a 10-foot long statue of just it was titled A Bear Brick Sitting Down, and it's essentially the statue kind of cut apart in half. It showed like the anatomy of the statue inside, and I guess that's worth roughly in the hundreds of thousands, I would assume, if not more, because a piece like that is just so rare and it's just on display. People are coming from all over the world to see it. It's a well-renowned theme. His Bear Brick collection, like miniature statues, could be like a foot tall, and they could be going for $200. I saw them all over the exhibit. I guess they were sold out by the time I got to the end, which kind of shows the craze behind all that. It's just everywhere.
So you actually saw the exhibit. Now, what happened to you, Eric? Did you tell us what happened when you approached the museum?
So to my surprise, I wasn't allowed inside. Reason being, I wasn't at the time vaccinated. Now I am, but at the time I wasn't vaccinated, and they were requiring proof of vaccination to get in. So I made the sacrifice. I waited outside for Richard because I really did want his clothing, but I was not allowed inside the museum, sadly.
Yeah, I guess I went inside and just I guess took the L for both of us, so to speak, for lack of better words. I went through the exhibit. I guess paid for only one person instead of two, and I was able to go through the entire exhibit since I was vaccinated at the time, and I was able to see the collection. It was very interesting. I noticed there was a lot of designs pertaining to music, such as the most recent song that Travis Scott and Kid Cudi released called "The Scotts." They had that poster on display at the exhibit, and a lot of people were particularly drawing their attention to that because a lot of people are familiar with Travis Scott and his work. So that was kind of interesting to see how a lot of people focused on that primarily instead of a lot of other parts of the exhibit. Once I got to the end, everything was sold out. It was crazy to me because by the way it looked like the shelves were completely full at the beginning. Like there should have been so much stock. Like it was a humongous room at the end of the exhibit where you shop, and
what is
all
it
of it was just full.
What is it that they were selling? I would guess that were not the $100,000 items.
Right, that was just on display. Mainly what they were selling was shirts. They had vinyls, like CD vinyls. They had the Bear Brick statues that I mentioned earlier. Everything was sold out. Like it was crazy, and we arrived at around like 4 p.m. So I mean, it was in the afternoon, which is expectable, but we did not expect to that level that everything would be gone.
So these statues, they weren't his art. They were like, they weren't his actual art, right? Because that would have gone for a lot more money. They were like souvenirs, or
they are, but I think in a way he mass produces them. They're not like one of one. Like he does a design and not mass produces them, but he produces a good amount of them. So.
It's
right,
like
his
limited
brand
edition, maybe.
Yeah,
that. His brand produces the Bear Brick statues, and they essentially sell them for that price, and a lot of them can fetch for thousands of dollars because simply like a design could be limited. It could have a certain color pattern or certain design to it that people like and people would pay a lot of money for. Like I said, the anatomy feature, like the inner workings of the statue, that could fetch a lot of money. Certain colors, and people are very, very like interested in just purchasing and getting their hands on these limited items because they know that in the future they'll be worth likely a lot more money, just like other contemporary pieces of art.
Interesting, Richard. You have this interest in art. What is your major?
My major? I'm majoring in biological sciences, so that's just kind of a side thing. My interest in art. Mainly, I was just drawn into it because of high school. I went to a very densely populated high school, one of the biggest in the country, Brooklyn Tech. And a lot of the kids there were immersed in pop culture and streetwear and all that. That's kind of how I got into it because I kind of wanted to fit in. I kind of wanted to be part of this demographic that wore all these hype clothes, who knew a lot about art, and I guess it was just kind of to reflect on myself, like kind of get a new hobby.
That's a cool hobby to have, sure.
Yeah.
So, Eric, you're not allowed inside of the museum because you didn't have the proof of vaccination.
Yeah.
So, when did you go to that museum? What was? Do you remember the date?
It was last week. It was
I think
2
September.
weeks ago, roughly.
I think one of the first days of September.
First day of
Yeah.
September. Okay, that's
Right.
interesting because it is the new New York City regulation as of just as of August 17th to 2021 that people over 12 and older are required to show proof that they have received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine.
Right.
And that goes for indoor dining, fitness, and entertainment. That is a lot because that includes restaurants, bars, gyms, movie theaters, concert venues, stadiums, museums. So many small businesses had to shut down because of COVID-19 to begin with, and some businesses are just hanging by a thread now. So this regulation about proof of vaccination could just be that proverbial straw that broke the camel's back for small business in New York. So Eric and Richard, what is your opinion on this vaccination requirement?
So, I mean, I understand where it's coming from. A lot of states are doing this, and I think it definitely works in encouraging people to get this vaccine. However, just in my experience, in my personal experience, I've seen a lot of times where, especially small businesses in New York City, they really don't check for the vaccination, and they just want the business. Like my local gym, a lot of people are telling me that they go there, no one checks for the card, no one checks anything, they just kind of let you in. And in theory, this should work, this vaccination, enforcement, but I think at the end of the day, businesses just want their money, and it's not becoming as efficient, and as it's not working as well as our officials thought it would.
Yeah, and there's also there's just that stigma kind of behind getting this vaccine because people are widely believe that it's a new concept, I guess, mRNA vaccines, although they've been researched for a long time, and it's been shown that mRNA cannot alter DNA and all that. People are afraid, and people stigmatize getting the vaccine, and some businesses apply that, some business owners apply that, and they completely disregard it. We went to eat a couple places back at a restaurant, and they didn't require or ask for the vaccine, although they are mandated to by the government, of course, by the city. They personally don't care because of their personal viewpoint, and I guess that's interesting to see because there's a lot of businesses out there like that, and it kind of progresses the problem, I guess, so to speak, with the spread of COVID-19, the spread of new variants that could be popping up, and people don't want to adhere to mandates above all.
There are just too many businesses to verify if they're verifying. Is there anything you wanna guys add before we finish this episode?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, about what we were saying earlier in the museum. I just wanted to say that we were coming in to buy these T-shirts for personal use, but probably the reason why it was sold out is a lot of these people are buying these shirts so they could resell them and make a quick buck, which I understand, and me and a lot of my friends and so many people do that. And I was also that person who would buy stuff and sell it and try to make money, but finally when I was in that position where I really wanted something for myself and I didn't get it, it was a little frustrating.
So then, even if you were allowed in, you wouldn't have been able to buy and resell these because there was nothing left.
It was just sold out. Yep.
As a matter of fact, the museum, the exhibit limited purchase of items to two items per person because they are aware of how these items flip, how they resell on the market, and how people take advantage of that. They're aware that, like, obviously someone could walk in, purchase 50 T-shirts and resell them for $5 over, $10 over, as such, buy out the entire stock. It's kind of a scalper mindset. Of course, people are trying to make money. Everyone's trying to turn a quick profit on something. But at the end of the day, it comes down to people who really appreciate the merchandise, the art, the artist making it. And people who wish to wear these designs can't access certain clothing because these scalpers wish to resell them at a very high price.
So there's art and there's business.
Right. Sometimes the two mix. A lot of times the two mix. And it's interesting. Just going through this museum, I saw a lot of tourists, a lot of people who I could tell weren't locals, and they were actually admiring the art, and they were standing there and kind of taking it in. Whereas the locals, people who I recognized as local, they would kind of go quickly through the exhibit and try to get to the end because the shop was at the end of the exhibit. in order to get to the end, you'd have to, you'd have to go through the entire exhibit and all that. People would quickly just rush through to get to the end instead of actually admiring what they paid for. And it was interesting to see that juxtaposition between tourists and locals and how they view the art.
Okay, guys, I thank you for coming in and being on this episode of J3 Unscripted. And I want to wish you good luck in your studies, and I want to wish you some interesting shows to be seen.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you so much, Jay.
It's
Bye,
been a
guys.
pleasure.
Take care.